What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so want to go ahead and complete this series that I've been doing as far as the, at least in my opinion, the five greatest teams in the history of the NBA. All right, so at number five, I had the 71-72 Lakers. At number four, the 85-86 Boston Celtics. At number three, I had the 82-83 Sixers. At number two, the 95-96 Bulls. And at number one, I have the 66-67 Philadelphia 76ers. All right. They set what was then a record for wins during the regular season that year at 68-13. That was an 81 game schedule that year. Afterwards, after that season, every year subsequently to today, each season has been 82 games. But anyway, they led the NBA in scoring. They were third in the NBA and rebounding. They led the NBA in assists. They led the NBA in free throws and free throw attempts. They led the NBA in field goal percentage and field goals made. And that was aided by Wilt Chamberlain, who shot 68% from the floor that year. They led the NBA in scoring at 125.2 points per game. They gave up 115.8 points per game, which was third in the NBA at that time. But yet they'll tell you, Jay Williams will tell you, oh, back in the 60s, they couldn't match the pace of today. Well, these numbers exceed the pace of today, and they were playing defense back then. And they were doing it in Chuck Taylors. And they played as many games as they possibly could. Let's see. Let's see how many games these guys played. Wilt played in 81 games. Hal Greer played in 80 games. Chet Walker played in 81 games. Luke Jackson, 81 games. Wally Jones, 81 games. Billy Cunningham, 81 games. That's their starters. You know what I'm saying? But they'll tell you, oh, the game is so complicated and so taxing on the body. When these guys just stand around yakking up threes all day. These guys actually ran up and down the court and made plays and played defense. But anyway, the Sixers were number one in offensive rating, number three in defensive rating. In the first round, they defeated the Cincinnati Royals 3-1. In the division finals, there weren't as many playoff rounds back then. They beat the Boston Celtics 4-1, dominated them. And they're the only team in the Bill Russell era to defeat Bill Russell in the playoffs as far as preventing him from going to the finals. Every other year, every other season, Bill Russell at least made it to the finals. The only year other than that year that they didn't win the championship was 57-58 when they made it to the finals but lost in 6 to the St. Louis Hawks, who were also coached by Alex Hannum, who was the coach of the Sixers team right here. And in the NBA Finals in 67, the Sixers played the Warriors, beating them in 6 games, despite the fact that Rick Barry, who led the league in scoring that year, I think it was that year he led the league in scoring. Yeah, he led the league in scoring, averaging 35.6 points per game. In the finals, Rick Barry averaged 40.8 points per game, which at the time was a record, including a 55-point game. Wilt Chamberlain augmented his game, became more of an all-around, actually became an all-around player and not just a primary scorer. His scoring average had been dropping precipitously after the first 3 or 4 years when he was with the Warriors because he was getting more help around him. But when he went to the Sixers, he changed his game totally. He wasn't taking 30 shots a game anymore. As a matter of fact, his field goal attempts went from like 28 down to 14, but he shot 68% from the floor. He was an atrocious free throw shooter, however. Only shot 44% from the line. But he did average 24.1 points, 24.2 rebounds, 7.8 assists. We don't know how many steals and blocks he averaged exactly, but he probably averaged somewhere around the neighborhood of 8.5 to 9 blocks per game. And maybe 1 to 2 steals per contest. And he won the league MVP that year. Hal Greer provided clutch scoring and much needed outside scoring for the Sixers with 22 points a game, 5.3 rebounds, 3.8 assists. Chet Walker was a slashing phenomenon. He would have some great years with the Bulls as well, but he started off with the Sixers. He averaged 19.3 points per game, 49% shooting from the floor. Made it to foul line 7.2 times per night that season, and also averaged 8.1 rebounds. The enforcer, Luke Jackson, 6'9", 270, 12 points, 8.9 rebounds. Wally Jones at point guard, 13.2 points per game, 3.7 assists per contest. But, Wilt was actually leading the team in assists, which was very unusual at the time for a big man to be running the offense. But, it worked. It worked for him, And whenever Wilt Chamberlain actually had talent around him, it's funny, whenever he was healthy and the team around him was healthy, they went to the finals. 67, healthy, goes to the finals. 68, the team got hurt in the playoffs. They lost to Boston. 69, he was the Lakers. They go to the finals. 70, they go to the finals. 71, they go to the conference finals. 72, they go to the finals and win it. 73, they go to the finals. So for all the knocks that Wilt get, whenever he actually had help, he was actually very successful. Anyway, to round out this great team, Billy Cunningham, the best six man in the NBA, 18.5 points, 7.3 rebounds. And Larry Costello, the veteran, 7.8 points coming off the bench. And they're one of the all-time great teams. They were voted the best team of the first 35 years in the NBA. As recently as the late 90s, they were seen as one of the at least 5 to 10 greatest teams. Some people still consistently had them as the top 2 or 3 teams in the NBA. They had the best 50-game start in the history of the NBA at 46-4, which the 2015-16 Warriors did tie. And just one of the great, great teams. They were all in their primes. And just a really, really good squad, just a really great squad. Wilt Chamberlain considered them the best team that he ever played on. And you got to remember, he played on the 71-72 Lakers that won 69 ball games. So, when you think about the fact that they were able to derail Bill Russell's dynasty, the only team that was able to beat them in the playoffs and prevent them from going to the finals, is a testament to how great they were. As a matter of fact, like I said, this series wasn't even close. And they led the NBA in field goal percentage that year, field goals made, free throws made, free throws attempted, assists, and they were a very smart team. Great coach in Alex Hannum. And they led the league also, like I said, in scoring, 125.2 points per game. I think they averaged about 125, 126 points during the NBA Finals. So, anyway, matter of fact, let me check something out right quick. I want to check something out. During the 1967 NBA Finals, Rick Barry averaged 40.8 points, 8.8 rebounds, 3.3 assists. Nate Thurmond averaged 14.2 points, 26.7 rebounds per game, 3.3 assists per contest. Uh, he only shot 34% from the floor, 55% from the foul line. Jim King for the Warriors averaged 18.3 points, 8.2 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Jeff Mullins, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Tom Meshery, 10.8 points, 7.2 rebounds, 1.2 assists. When I look at the Sixers, they were led in scoring by Hal Greer at 26 points a game, 8 rebounds, 6.2 assists. He shot a hair under 40% from the floor. So he's definitely an MVP candidate. Chet Walker, 23.3 points, 8.8 rebounds, 3.3 assists. He shot 45% from the floor. Wally Jones averaged 20.2 points per game. Took along 5.3 assists, 46% shooting. Um, his, that's far beyond his normal numbers. So I could see a case for Wally Jones. Billy Cunningham, 19.7 points, 5.7 rebounds, 3 assists. Luke Jackson, 9.2 rebounds, 12.5, 9.2 points, 12.5 rebounds, 1.8 assists. Wilt Chamberlain, 17.7 points, 28.5 rebounds, 6.8 assists, 56% shooting from the floor, but a god awful 31% from the foul line. If the free throw percentage wasn't so low, Wilt would have the edge. I could see a case for Wilt though, but if I had to put someone out there, I would give it to either Hal Greer or Wally Jones as far as if there was a Finals MVP award. If there's a Finals MVP award, I think Hal Greer is a candidate. Wally Jones maybe, but however, Wilt did shut Nate Thurmond down scoring wise to 33%, 34% shooting. So that does mean something. That does mean he was doing his job on the defensive end, holding Nate Thurmond to 14 points on 34% shooting. And, Nate did get 26 rebounds a game, but Wilt was getting 28 rebounds per game. So I guess Nate, Wilt, I could see Wilt getting it too. But anyway, I just wanted to check that out. Now, is there a possibility that Rick Barry could have won it despite losing? I don't think so. I don't see it. And by the way, Rick Barry, who was roughly a 90% career free throw shooter, shot only 79% from the line in that series. And you got to wonder whether part of that was nerves. One of those games, he only hit 11 of 19 from the foul line, which is very unlike Rick Barry. He only shot 40% from the field in that series. A lot of that probably was nerves as well as great defense by the Sixers. But anyway, just wanted to share that. One of the great teams of all times, in my opinion, the greatest individual team from an offensive standpoint and defensive standpoint. Great passing team, great rebounding team. They could adapt to different styles. This was Wilt Chamberlain at his best, at the peak of his career. In my opinion, the greatest team ever assembled, the '67 Philadelphia 76ers.